everything went well until the bank called him. This is my story of a long-hardened trust getting broken because the man I married did the unthinkable. Today's story is from Southeast Asia, where the tradition is men always give dowry to women's family as a token for their marriage. In most countries in the region, men are seen as the main providers and breadwinners, while women tend to be more of household caretakers and main raisers of children. So it's a long tradition that men are expected to court women by visiting their families, bringing tokens, and finally, dowry if they wish to marry the woman. Okay, let's begin. The year was 2021, after the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, when many businesses began to recover after a severe decline. Unfortunately, many went bankrupt and fell into indebtment. But there was one business on the rise that I went to get my trip planned, a travel agency. It was that moment that dictated what my next 3 years would look like. The years I wished I hadn't been through. The travel agency I wish I hadn't visited. In December 2021, I met the clerk named KES, a local citizen of the capital city. He was very nice and accommodating to me and my sister. The experience was fantastic and highly recommendable. The month was a sort of winter, although it was never as cold as in Europe. So a trip that involves lots of walking and sightseeing was my favourite thing to do. KS joined that trip as an associate guide. He was nice to me, particularly. He even helped me climb the stairs during the sightseeing activity. He remained not too far from me. He also gave us cold bottled water and took about 100 photos for me and my sister. For convenience of transferring the photos, he proposed to send it through social media. I gave him my number associated with my Telegram. The morning after the trip, my sister and I were preparing our clothes for washing. Then, my phone pinged multiple times. There were so many messages from Mr. KAS of the tour company. I was excited, in fact, because I knew so many of the photos finally made it. I checked the messages, downloaded the photos, and thanked him. He told me if I or my family registered again, he'd ask the agency to give me a discount. He was so caring and helpful. A great young man. His attitude, his personalities, fascinated me. He was so charming in a way I couldn't explain. Our conversation didn't end there. From that day, we kept in touch, learning about each other more and more. He asked me what I was doing for a living. I asked him about his job. He asked about my family. I asked him about his family. About 2 weeks after constant communication, a new defining moment began. In early January 2022, he asked me if I was available for dinner and for the cinema. I said yes. I would go on a date with him. So one late afternoon, we went to a new mall 20 minutes from my house. He brought me to a Japanese-style buffet where we could eat exotic food for 2 hours for quite a huge price. He paid for all of it. Afterwards, he brought me to watch a film on the top floor of the mall. It was the 4th one in the Hotel Transylvania franchise, a fun comedy of my liking. At around 8 p.m, he accompanied me home and watched me get in my house safely before leaving. So sweet, so caring, as always. A new relationship was born. On Facebook, we set our new relationship status, making it public. It was a way to tell people that he and I were already taken, so don't come near us. My family held onto the traditional way of romantic relationship to ensure women are honoured the way the elders saw it. This means we were not allowed to be publicly seen together often, if not at all, without a third related person. That person can be my relative or sister. This also means to be in the public together as much as we wanted, we at least needed to be engaged. What you're about to hear is something almost exclusive to Southeast Asia. So in March 2022, we invited our relatives and some friends to my house to celebrate our engagement ceremony. In the ceremony, the priest, called a char, also announced our wedding day and the dowry. Yes, the dowry was something the priest announced to the guests as a way to honour the bride. My dowry, as required by my parents, was $30,000. Yes, it was huge by the local standard, but I was the only daughter in the family, and my family was viewed as quite an upper-class one. Let me elaborate a bit. The dowry was meant to be spent on organising the wedding by the bride's family, rather than a payment in the business transaction sense. My family wanted the wedding to be quite lavish, so our rich relatives would be impressed. That's the thing in the local culture. People often view weddings as a way to show off wealth, and obviously my family had to make it count. We got married in November the same year at a fine reception venue that cost my family nearly $10,000 just to rent. Both I and my now husband were standing at the entrance to greet and give each guest a gift. We enjoyed dancing to late night. Everything was so much fun. We arranged our honeymoon on an island called Koh Rong, a truly amazing experience. Another widespread practice in the region is that the wife gets to manage all the financial ins and outs of the family, and husbands normally give their incomes to the wives. The incomes include salary and other revenues. The husbands may keep something for themselves for other petty expenses. My then husband would do that too, but the amount I got to keep for family expenditure was exceedingly small compared to how much he spent on the wedding, honeymoon and other trips. Number-wise, I got to keep only around $300 per month. It was not something I was used to. I mean, I handled much more money while I was single, but I maintained a positive thinking. I expected that my husband was saving for something big as a surprise. But in fact, when we were dating, I never asked him about his income. I regarded it as an overly intrusive question, but so wrong was I, not to learn about this early on. February 2023. His phone ringing. He was outside washing the car. I decided to pick up before the timeout so that I would give it to him immediately afterwards. The called greeted. "Hello, this is XXX Bank calling. How are you, Mr. KS?" I said, "Hello, this is TSM speaking. I'm his wife. My husband is a bit busy outside. Is there anything I can help?" The caller responded, "Yes, ma'am. I'm reaching out to Mr. KS because of his past due monthly payment." "Payment?" I startled and asked, "Can I know what the payment is for?" The caller continued, "It's the monthly payment of $869.05 for his loan last year." In complete disbelief, I pursued more details. "What is it for? I have no idea. Are you a real bank or some scammer?" "Yes, ma'am. We're a real bank and provider of the loan for your husband. If this helps, the amount was $35,000 with a 60-month repayment plan, ma'am. I'm sorry, I thought you were aware of that." I was thunderstruck and almost dropped the phone. KS came into the living room. I was sitting on the sofa, shocked and breathless. KS asked me why I was looking like I just saw a ghost. I didn't want to believe it, and I didn't want to accuse him of anything until it came from his mouth. I still expected the call to be a prank call or scam, but I needed to find out. "Are you familiar with $35,000 and XXX Bank?" His face changed. His eyes widened. His breath shortened. He didn't immediately respond. After about 5 seconds too long, he said, "Yes, how did you know?" I immediately pushed him. "Tell me everything about it. Why? Why didn't you tell me in the beginning?" the truth was revealed. The dowry given to my family was merely a loan with a high interest he took to impress my family and to get me. His car was part of a previous loan he took 5 years earlier, but paid off just months before my wedding. He added he earned a lot less because few people were travelling now, so he didn't get enough commissions from the job to pay the bank that month, while also giving me the $300. In short, he was living a lavish lifestyle by putting his life on the line with zero real savings. He asked me to take some money from my family to pay for it and continue to pay it each month until the principal was paid off. I completely refused to do anything. I refused to be dragged into a loan I was never part of to begin with. I felt betrayed. I felt my whole life was a lie. How could he? Tears began to drop, and I stormed out of the room to be with myself outside. My chest almost exploded with that shocking revelation. I became lightheaded. I almost fainted. But one thing at that moment I felt certain about. I would never forgive him for this lie. I learned that I was pregnant at the time this loan revelation took place. Call me headstrong, but I was determined. I would not let this take away the future of my baby, no matter the costs. And the cost would be dearly. KS asked me to consider helping him, now that he was my husband, who used to make me happy. He said my family was not poor, so they could help. Again, I refused to have anything to do with. Our disagreement quickly turned into an argument. One word was the last straw. KS said, "If you don't want to help your husband, you're not a worthy wife." He basically made me to be a bad, unhelpful person. I told him, "This is all on you. If you're not going to pay it yourself, I cannot help you. If you insist, I'm going to divorce you." And divorce I did. A 3-month pregnant TSM signed the divorce paper in the presence of our parents and witnesses. Fortunately, our official marriage certificate hadn't been registered at the time, so we didn't have to go to the court to resolve this matter. Fast forward, my daughter is a beautiful, healthy girl I'm raising on my own, with support from my parents. I'm running my own small business to bring a good future for her. I hope this is a wake-up to all ladies out there. Before you settle, do your homework, because if you don't, you may lock yourself to a chain you didn't sign up to be in. If you make it this far, thank you so much for listening to Ciphered Hearts. Please like and subscribe to get more stories like this of allegedly true events from around the world. If you have a story of your own, please send to the email on the screen. Look forward to your return for the next one.